України із величезною повагою і пошануванням. Дякую.
Давайте домовимося, що дарувати книжки буде в кінці, добре? А зараз ставте питання. Прошу питання.
I'd like to go back to what you said about the politics of memory and the difference between history and memory and propaganda. And you said that you can't fight propaganda with propaganda. And I think you were talking about what's happening in Ukraine now. The trouble is that Ukraine is fighting propaganda with propaganda. And that it's constantly being wrong-footed, that it's reactive rather than proactive. So if Russian propaganda says that all Ukrainians are fascist, therefore Ukraine has to say we're not fascist. If Russia says that all Ukrainians are gay, we have to say we're not gay. It goes back much further than Maidan. It goes back to 1992. It goes back to 1954 when Crimea became part of the Ukrainians. So it goes back to the Second World War. What can Ukraine do about that? Is it too late? How can Ukraine start to tell its own story, not reacting to Russian propaganda, or has Russian propaganda already filled that blank space, which was what most people knew about Ukraine?
Maybe one more question to keep it even. Ще одне питання, щоб ми збирали по 4.
Professor Snyder, first of all, I'd like to thank you on behalf of many Ukrainians, I believe most Ukrainians, for being such an important, such an authoritative and consistent voice in explaining the truth about Ukraine. We value and cherish your support very much. But here's what I'd like to ask you. It was only after Maidan broke that it became obvious to us, to ordinary people, that Kremlin had been doing so much work to disseminate misconceptions about Ukraine in the West. I'm talking about all kinds of different organizations, think tanks, individual authors, like Ron Paul's Center for Global Research and something, but you obviously know about that. So my question is, how much influence, how much damage do you believe has been done, and how much influence do they have in the West, in shaping public opinion in the West? And what's your sense, whichever your answer is this changing, okay, this influence? Thank you.
Дамо час на відповіді. Would you like to?
On terror and the state, terrorist organizations take control of the state all the time. Terrorist organizations take control of the state very, very often in this part of the world, in other parts of the world. It's a big subject to be developed. The most relevant thing in this part of the world is the weakness of the conventional state, which creates opportunities where opportunities probably shouldn't arise. I mean, when we think about Donetsk and Luhansk today, it's hard to be rational and it's hard to think about it in a distanced sort of way. But one thing that we can say in general is that the Ukrainian state is weak. I mean, when we talk about decentralization,